As we head into this year's March Madness College Basketball Tournament, today I'll be giving you guys my 2021 March Madness bracket predictions as well as my national championship prediction for this season. And considering how crazy of a college basketball season it already has been with everything going on, considering Duke and Kentucky aren't even in this tournament, I think that pretty much says enough. It's been a crazy season for sure. I think this could be one of the best tournaments that we've ever seen of all time, I definitely think. I mean, if you look at how many upsets we've seen all season, I think we're going to be bound to see a very upset-filled tournament coming up here in 2021. So it's going to make for a fun time, and these are going to be my personal predictions. So obviously we're going to see a ton of different opinions. I mean, there are however many different bracket variations. So this is just my predictions personally. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started with this right away. Starting out with the West region, we got Gonzaga, of course, as your #1 overall seed. And they're going to play either Norfolk State or Appalachian State. In the end, this is what I'm looking at for the first round. I think for the West Division, Gonzaga is going to win. I've got Oklahoma over Missouri. That's definitely going to be a close matchup there, but I just think with the Sooners right now playing as well as they are, I mean, I could easily see Missouri win that game, but Oklahoma's in the better conference. They've got more experience. I'm going to go with them there. My first big upset for this tournament's got to be Ohio over Virginia. And the main reason for that is because, I mean, there are several stats that you can go by, and I actually rely on the stats quite a bit here. And if you look at the stats, I mean, Virginia is your defending champion. I don't think we've ever seen, well, actually, there was one occurrence, I think, with Florida, if I'm correct. But Virginia, like, we've never seen a defending champion hardly make it to the Final Four in any tournament. So basically for Virginia here, that's a team as well that has a loss of momentum right now. And so I think Ohio's going to get the win over them in the end. We're going to see Ohio play Creighton, in which I think USCSB there, we could easily see them get the upset over Creighton. I think Creighton is definitely a team that could take an upset earlier on in this tournament, but I think they're going to end up taking on Ohio in the end. Ohio's going to beat Virginia. Iowa, no doubt they're going to beat Grand Canyon. I think Iowa's definitely a team that could make a very deep run in this tournament. With as much experience as they got, as well as the momentum that they got on that side right now, Iowa's a team to watch out for. Oregon's going to beat VCU as well. That is definitely a game that I've gone back and forth on several times. I think VCU could easily win that matchup, so don't rely on my prediction for that game there. I think VCU personally could easily get the win there, but I'm going with Oregon mainly because they've got more experience playing against tougher opponents. Kansas, I've got them over Eastern Washington. I could also see an upset there with Kansas taking a loss, considering how crazy of a season it's been, especially considering Kansas isn't having 3 players travel with them. But I got Kansas still in the end. They're too experienced for me to give up on them right now. USC is going to get the win over Wichita State or Drake. So that's what I'm looking at for the first round in the West Division. Ohio is the main upset in this division that I've got right now, as Virginia being a 4 seed, they're going to take the loss. As for your round of 32 games, here's what I've got. I got Gonzaga going over Oklahoma. I mean, if any major team is going to upset Gonzaga, it's probably going to be Oklahoma. I don't see Missouri upsetting Gonzaga, but I think Oklahoma could potentially put up an upset bid against Gonzaga, but Bulldogs are too good. They're going to get the win there. Creighton is going to move on to the Sweet 16 after a win against Ohio. If it's Virginia and Creighton playing in that matchup, I think Virginia wins, no doubt. Virginia in this tournament, I really think is either going to lose in the first round or they're going to go to the Sweet 16 at least. I don't see that team losing in the round of 32 by any means, but I could easily see Virginia losing in the first round much more than in the round of 32, mainly because of their experience as well as the motivation factor too. This Virginia team did win a national championship a couple seasons ago. As for Iowa, they're going to beat Oregon or VCU, whoever wins that game. And then Kansas, I went back and forth on that matchup as well, but Kansas is in the better conference, more experience. They're going to get the win over USC. So there's what I'm looking at for the Final Four in your West Division. And here's what I got here. I've got Gonzaga over Creighton. Not much of a surprise there. I think Gonzaga's got a very easy road to the Final Four. The only team that you got to really worry about in your West Division, I'd say, is Iowa. Like, I mean, if you look at your 4 seed Virginia, they could be tough, but I don't really see them going very far. But Kansas at the same time, I don't see Kansas going very far either. I think Iowa is the main team you got to worry about here. And let me remind you guys, Gonzaga and Iowa did play earlier on in the season. We saw Gonzaga get the win, but however, when they meet in the Elite 8, we're going to see Iowa get the win over Gonzaga. And this is going to be something that some of you guys are probably going to be outraged about in the comments. But I think the Iowa Hawkeyes are going to come back. We've seen several occurrences where, I mean, it's very tough to beat a team twice in a season, especially when one matchup is in the regular season and one matchup is in postseason. I think Iowa's going to come in and they're going to have a ton of confidence there. They got Luka Garza, outstanding on both sides, offensively and defensively. Iowa's going to get the win over Gonzaga, and really, I mean, that's going to be a huge upset if it does happen, considering Gonzaga is going to be undefeated, obviously. But Iowa, I think they're going to bounce back. They're going to learn from their mistakes in their first matchup, and they're going to move on to the Final Four. Iowa Hawkeyes win the West Division. As for the East Division, here's what we got in the first round. I got Michigan getting the win over the 16 seed. They're going to play LSU. I got LSU over St. Bonaventure there, but I could easily see St. Bonaventure winning that matchup as well. I kind of went back and forth on that one quite a bit as well. But Florida State, I could also see them possibly getting an upset bid from UNCG there in the first round. But I've got them getting the win. Georgetown, I also went back and forth on this one here. But Georgetown, with them being they're on fire right now. That's a team with a ton of momentum. And even though they might not be as skilled, they've got as much momentum as most teams in this tournament if you're looking outside of the 4 and up seeds. So, yeah, Georgetown, I got them moving on. They're going to fight Florida State. Alabama's going to beat Iona easily. And then Maryland and UConn, that's also an interesting matchup there that I've gone back and forth on a ton. UConn, at some point, I think that team personally could make a run. They could possibly upset Alabama if they can get into the round of 32, but Maryland, I think with their experience, Maryland has played so many tougher teams. They've had a brutal strength of schedule. I think they've got the 9th toughest strength of schedule in the country. So Maryland, I've got them winning over UConn in the end. So they're going to play Alabama. Texas, they're going to easily beat Abilene Christian by 30 at least. And they're going to play Michigan State. Michigan State's going to beat UCLA, and they're also going to beat BYU to get into that round of 32 position. Michigan State, that's going to be a team that has been doubted on quite a bit. I can see them being super motivated. And if any surprise 11 seed is going to make it on to the Sweet 16 or even the Elite 8, it's going to be Michigan State. As for the round of 32 matchups, I've got Michigan over LSU. I could see LSU possibly playing an upset bid to Michigan there. I mean, Michigan, they don't have livers. That team in general is pretty beat up. So I don't know if Michigan has got potential to win the championship this season, but LSU team is also playing halfway decent right now, but Michigan's going to get the win in the end. Florida State and Georgetown, I got the Seminoles over Georgetown there. Georgetown's on fire, but they're not going to be able to beat Florida State in the tournament. So we got Michigan and Florida State there playing off for a spot in the Elite 8. As for Alabama, they're going to beat Maryland, but of course Alabama's that's also a team that I think could be upset by maybe even UConn. We could see UConn get in there, but I don't see Maryland pulling an upset over Alabama. So Crimson Tide are moving on to the Sweet 16. As for Texas, they're going to move on to the Sweet 16 as well after beating Michigan State. So Texas has got, I'd say, actually a pretty easy road to the Sweet 16. I mean, you got to play Abilene Christian. Probably that's a team that could be a 16 seed. And really, if you look at the rest of the bracket here, I mean, you got Michigan State or UCLA, which Michigan State could be a bit fatigued, of course, by having already played 2 games in the tournament coming into that matchup. But if BYU is also a team that I think could be a dark horse here. No one's talking about them, but that is a team that competed up to Gonzaga's level. So BYU is also a team not to sleep on. But I don't know, there are just so many decisions here in this tournament. And obviously, I mean, it's guaranteed. You're going to see upsets. Like, we're going to see 10, 11, maybe even 12 seeds in the Sweet 16. It's just a matter of who. So that's why it's so tough to predict these brackets here, especially considering it's basketball. Like, this ain't college football. But anyway, Michigan and Florida State in that matchup. I've got Florida State pulling the upset over the Michigan Wolverines. Michigan is a beat-up team. They don't have much momentum right now. Down the stretch, that team has really not played as well. Florida State's going to get the win over Michigan, and that's going to be the end of their road. As for Alabama, they're going to beat Texas in the Sweet 16, but I could also see Texas getting the win there. That Alabama and Texas game was pretty much a toss-up for me to predict there. That would be an outstanding matchup if we did get to see it, but Alabama's going to get the win. We're going to see Florida State and Alabama in the Elite 8 and for a chance to the Final Four. Crimson Tide's going to get the win over Florida State, so Alabama is the next team into the Final Four. As for your South Division, we got Baylor being the 1 seed here, and here's what I'm expecting. I got Baylor, of course, moving on to the round of 32. Not much of a surprise there. Wisconsin's going to beat North Carolina. And really for the Tar Heels here, like, North Carolina is a team that could either be super great in this tournament, possibly a dark horse that could move on pretty deep into the tournament. I think that they could play an upset bid to Baylor. They're kind of in the same situation, I'd say, as Virginia. Like, I think Virginia and North Carolina both could make a deep run if they really wanted to, and if they're both really motivated. But North Carolina, in the end, that's a team that's just been super inexperienced all season. They've improved over the season, no doubt. But Wisconsin, I just think the Badgers are just a better team in general right now. Wisconsin's going to get the win there. Purdue is the tallest team in all of college basketball. I think right now they're going to be a tough team to beat. I do not see by any means North Texas beating Purdue. I think if North Texas did beat Purdue, that would be an incredible upset. That would probably be one of the biggest upsets of this entire tournament if it did happen. Purdue, I'm pretty certain that they're going to get the win there. Winthrop, I've got them over Villanova. I mean, Villanova is just too beat up of a team right now to make a deep run. That's a team that's super experienced with March Madness and getting deep into tournaments. But Winthrop, they're going to get the win in the end over Villanova. Ohio State's going to play Virginia Tech, and really, in a couple of the brackets that I've created already for a tournament challenge, Virginia Tech, I do actually have them pulling an upset over Ohio State. But the Buckeyes, I just think with them having as much momentum as they got right now, they were kind of in a slump there throughout February, but all around that team has gotten some momentum back, and I think they're going to get the win over Virginia Tech. As for Arkansas there, of course, you got them as the 3 seed, probably one of the hottest teams in all of college basketball. I mean, they were like a 7 or an 8 seed, I think, about a month ago, but they've already risen up to a number 3 seed. They're on fire right now, and as long as they don't choke, I think that's a team that easily could move on pretty deep into this tournament. As for Texas Tech, they got Utah State, a team that was very much on the bubble. I could see Utah State winning that game, but it's going to be Texas Tech in the end. As for your round of 32 games, Baylor's going to get the win over Wisconsin. They're going to play off against Purdue. Purdue's going to move on to the Sweet 16 as well after their win against Winthrop. So Purdue really has had, I mean, they've also got a pretty easy road, I'd say, to the Sweet 16. Like Villanova, I don't see them going very far. So for Purdue here, that's pretty good news for them. But as for Ohio State, they're going to move on, and then Texas Tech's going to pull the upset over Arkansas, and that was a tough one to pick there. Texas Tech obviously is very experienced in tournaments, and they've played very well recently. So I've got the Red Raiders pulling a massive upset over Arkansas, which, considering once again how much on fire Arkansas has been, that's going to be tough on them. But that's just one of the upsets which I don't have much reasoning for. Like, that's March Madness for you guys. I do not have much reasoning. Like, every reason would point to Arkansas beating Texas Tech there, but this is it's a March Madness tournament. Texas Tech's going to get the win over Arkansas. I'm pretty much just giving you guys a quick pick there. But anyway, that's what your Final Four looks like for the South Division. Baylor's going to be playing Purdue, and then of course you got Ohio State and Texas Tech. Here's what I'm predicting for this, though. I got Baylor over Purdue, and really this Baylor team I think is possibly the most likely of the 4 seeds to make. Well, actually, Gonzaga definitely I think has got a good chance, but I've got Gonzaga actually losing to Iowa. So I think Baylor, honestly, like that's a team that I could easily see winning a national championship this season, mainly because of the experience that they got on their team, as well as, I mean, that team does not have a whole lot of pressure. Not many people are talking about them. So, and if you look at all the extremely talented teams that we've seen in the past March Madness tournaments, like, of course, we did see Virginia win a couple of seasons ago, but I mean, if you look at the number 1 overall seeds, the number 1 overall seeds actually have not fared very well in the past few tournaments. So I think for Baylor here, that could come to their advantage. They're going to play Ohio State in the final for the South Division. In the end, Baylor's going to get the win. They're moved on to the Final Four. As for your North Division, this is a very interesting division here. I think we could easily see a ton of upsets in this division. I also think Houston is the most likely major seed to take an upset here. I think Cleveland State's not very good, but if any 2 seeds going to get upset, it's going to be Houston. I'll tell you guys that right now. But as for your first round, Illinois is going to get the win over Drexel. I think Illinois is definitely a team that is very prone to an early upset in this tournament. I think Illinois is a great team. They've got several great players, just won the Big Ten. But I don't know. I think Illinois is a team that, I mean, they've not been I don't think they've been a 1 seed in quite a long time, if not forever. So Illinois is a team that has got a ton of pressure in this tournament. I really do think. Like, it's very tough for a team, a dark horse team for that matter, to go on and win a national championship. Like, that's been proven in all sorts of college sports. But anyway, Loyola, Georgia Tech, very fun matchup there. I got Georgia Tech over Loyola in the end. Oklahoma State's going to beat Liberty, which a lot of people are saying Liberty is going to be Oklahoma State, but I think Oklahoma State is going to hear that, and they're going to use that as motivation, and they're going to get the win there, Oklahoma State. So they're going to move on to the round of 32. Tennessee and Oregon State, I've got the Beavers over Tennessee. They're going to move on to the round of 32. Obviously, that's a team as well that I think could easily pull an upset over Tennessee there. Tennessee's beat up. Oregon State just won a conference championship. They're going to get the win. Houston over Cleveland State. That's going to be a close one. I think we could see an upset bid out of Cleveland State there for a little while, but the Cougars are going to get the win. Clemson over Rutgers as well. A lot of people are saying Rutgers over Clemson, but I've got the Tigers. West Virginia is going to beat... West Virginia is going to get the win there. I forget what the 14 seed was there. Morehead State, I think. Yeah, West Virginia is going to get the win over them. And then San Diego State is going to they're going to beat Syracuse. I think Syracuse is definitely a team that could pull an upset there over San Diego State. But in the end, we're going to see the Aztecs get the win in the end. So here's what we're looking at for the round of 32. And this is where it gets really interesting in this division. I've got Georgia Tech pulling the upset over Illinois in the round of 32. And you guys are going to call me insane for that. Rightfully so. It's March Madness. So that's your main reason for that. But Georgia Tech... that's a team that I could actually see making a deep run in this tournament. I think that they could easily, with the experience that they got on their side, and honestly, I mean, they played a pretty tough schedule as well. So for Illinois here, Illinois being a team that is, they're a very unexpected team. That's a team that's definitely a dark horse here. Georgia Tech, I just take advantage of that, and they're going to get the win. Oklahoma State and Oregon State, they're going to play as well in the round of 32. We're going to see Oklahoma State get the win in the end. They're moving on to the Sweet 16. Houston and Clemson, Cougars get the win. West Virginia and San Diego State, we're going to see West Virginia get the win there as well. So here's what we're looking at for your semifinals in the North Division. Georgia Tech's going to play Oklahoma State, and as well as Houston against West Virginia. So two very interesting matchups. I think Houston is definitely a team that could take a loss pretty early on in this tournament as well. So watch out for them. I would not predict them to be your tournament champion. But for Georgia Tech and Oklahoma State, I think that's going to be a very close matchup, but Oklahoma State's going to get the win, and then West Virginia is going to beat Houston. I just don't see Houston making a very deep run in this tournament. They're just a team I definitely think is prone to taking an upset, and the main reason for that is because, that's a team that's got some good momentum right now, but if you look at them on both sides of the ball, like, they're just prone to an upset. But Oklahoma State, West Virginia is going to be your final in the North Division. I've got Oklahoma State pulling the upset. They're going to get the win over West Virginia. So this is definitely a division that I think a lot of you guys are going to disagree with because, for the most part, a lot of you guys are probably picking Liberty to get the upset over Oklahoma State. But I think the Cowboys are going to really defy the odds here and get the win in the North Division. As for your Final Four bracket, we got Iowa, of course, against Alabama. Baylor's going to play Oklahoma State in a Big 12 matchup for the Final Four. So very interesting Final Four here. Obviously, I'm not much of a fan of putting multiple 1 seeds in the Final Four. Main reason for that is because, that's kind of a rare occurrence, actually. Most 1 seeds don't fare as well as 2 seeds. If you look at the history of the tournament, if you look at Baylor here, they're a team that's a 1 seed, obviously, but they've got a lot of experience, and you could also argue, Gonzaga's got experience, which they do. But Iowa, I just like them over Gonzaga. That's the main reason why I've got them in the Final Four in the first place. But Alabama, as for the Crimson Tide, that's also a team that's been on fire recently. So there's lots of reasons for each of these 4 teams to make a deep run in this tournament. But that being said, here's what I'm going with. I've got the Crimson Tide over Iowa. Iowa's definitely a team that I think, you'd say, considering they just beat Gonzaga in the Elite Eight, that they should probably be your national champions, which, you could say that as well. But Alabama, I think, they're going to take, Iowa, they're going to be coming off of a major game there against Gonzaga, and I think Iowa's definitely a team that could win that game, but Alabama's going to get the win. Baylor and Oklahoma State as well. That's going to be a close matchup for sure, but Baylor's going to get the win. Alabama and Baylor will be your national championship game this season, and here's what I got winning the championship. It's going to be Baylor. Baylor Bears are going to get the win over Alabama, and they're going to be your national champions for this 2021 college basketball season, and obviously, I think this is definitely a tournament that we could see a ton more upsets than even I'm expecting here. I went pretty upset heavy in this bracket prediction here, which, you guys are going to call me crazy for some of the upsets that I'm calling here, but if you look at the entire college basketball season in general, we've seen so many upsets, so many unexpected teams have great seasons, and with that being said, that's the 2021 season for you. So I think that's definitely going to continue into this tournament. We could easily see some big Cinderellas in this tournament for sure. Once again, Duke and Kentucky not making the tournament pretty much explains itself there. Both of those teams have been outstanding in the past, and especially considering most Blue Bloods haven't even had great seasons. We could easily see a ton of upsets in this tournament. That's why it's going to be so much fun. I think we will see kind of a unique champion in March Madness this season. But anyway, that wraps it up for today. I'll probably be doing a couple more videos for March Madness in the coming days for possible upset picks or any advice for you guys on filling out your brackets. But anyway, that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you guys want to hit on the video, go ahead. I mean, it's March Madness, so we could see so many upsets, and that's the main reason why I predicted so many upsets, is because, I mean, I've learned from predicting brackets in years past. Like, there are so many more upsets than many people expect, so that's why I went upset heavy in this. But anyway, appreciate you guys all watching. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you guys all later.